What's up everybody, Gale here, and welcome to Dragon Age Inquisition. Today we are going to be talking about my favorite build in the entire game, the dual-wield Artificer Rogue. This build will make you feel like Levi from Attack on Titan, or an even easier way to describe it, Spider-Man with bombs. This setup is for Nightmare difficulty, but it will excel at all difficulties. Rogue in this game is nuts with how much damage you can do in the late game, and this build will not be any different. I think this Artificer build is the best build in the entire game. I'm not saying it's the best because it's the most overpowered or the easiest to beat the game with, but because it combines nearly unlimited mobility, AoE, range, and damage abilities to create one of the most powerful and fun builds I've ever used in any game. Not only is it extremely powerful, but throwing handfuls of bombs, knives, and grappling hooks just feels badass. Whether you're returning to Inquisition for the last time before Veilguard, or are new to the Dragon Age series, if you have only one time to play through this game, do it with this build. I promise you will not regret it. With that long-winded intro out of the way, let's get right into the build. Rogue's early game is unfortunately bad. Really bad. The only thing Rogues really offer in this game is damage, and for the first 10 or so levels, we really don't have the stats or equipment to really give us the oomph we need. If you've ever played a MOBA, think of this build as a carry. You'll be a one-man army later in the game, but you're going to need to rely on your teammates to do the heavy lifting early on so you can get there. With all of that being said, your primary goal as an early rogue is going to be to assassinate high-damaging squishy targets like archers and mages. Use stealth to sneak up on them, and use twin fangs alongside backstab auto attacks to take them down. We will use flank attack to get behind the targets and twin fangs to capitalize on being behind them. Flank attack will deal high weapon damage if both attacks hit, and twin fangs will deal even more damage if both daggers hit and you are behind the target. These combined will usually deal serious damage. Both of these abilities are on very low cooldowns, so it's a very spammable combo. They are only slowed down by your stamina regeneration. The last non-passive ability we get before specialization is Spinning Blades. It's a very costly ability in terms of stamina, but gives us some AoE a little earlier on, which can come in handy. It also does deal good single target damage, but usually we would rather be using Twin Fangs for that. For equipment in the early game, it is almost always best to craft gear in this game, as finding good gear is hard to come by. For armor, just craft whichever gives you the most defense, and for weapons, the most offense. In the later game, this will change, as all we care about is damage, which we will cover later. But the early game is the only hard part of this game, and being tankier helps a lot in surviving it. Prioritize crafting gear that gives you the most offense and utility slots, and fill those with boosts to your crit chance, crit damage, dexterity, and cunning. Again, this first portion of the game before you acquire specialization will be a bit slow, and you won't feel the most powerful, but after you acquire Artificer, you will be unstoppable. Which now brings us to the Endgame Build. Now it's time to pretty much forget everything you did for the first 10 levels. You'll rarely be using those abilities anymore at all. You won't even really have the same playstyle anymore. After getting Artificer, instead of being a sneaky backstabbing assassin, you'll basically convert into the exact opposite. You'll literally be grapple hooking onto people's faces, doing kickflips off them while throwing bombs and knives into their chest, without any regard for their lives or your own. What the Artificer offers to us is insane passive abilities and our new main ability, Elemental Mines. Elemental Mines will throw out an assortment of bombs that come with a variety of elements attached to them, in fire, ice, and electric, which also bring their accompanying status effects with them. This ability deals incredible damage in a very large area, and if you miss, which you will, the bombs will stick around for a while, becoming landmines for the enemies. Once we grab the upgrade for this ability, we will throw mines until our stamina is out, which absolutely litters the battlefield with explosives. And by the time we get this upgrade, we will have plenty of means to get the stamina back. This ability does have one downside, and that it throws the bombs a few meters in front of you, meaning you can't really use them while meleeing the target. It'll take a little getting used to, but it's a small price to pay for such a devastating ability. The passives we get from Artificer are Set Them Up, Opportunity Knocks, and Take Them Down. These all combo really well together and end up giving us more damage and cooldown reduction, and also providing our entire team with more crit chance. Because of the passives Opportunity Knocks and Take Them Down, it's not a bad idea to have another rogue in the party, with high crit to make full use of the passives. If you are playing on Nightmare, I do have a full party recommendation on the channel. By the time this build is complete, we will have swapped out Twin Fangs, Flank Attack, and Stealth for our new 4 core abilities, which will be the only ones you'll need for the rest of your life. Elemental Mines, Hook and Tackle, Throwing Blades, and Spinning Blades. We have already went over elemental mines and how fantastic it is, so next up we have hook and tackle. I love hook and tackle. It allows you to jet from one fight to the next instantly by hooking onto an enemy and kicking them in the chest to engage the next fight. With the upgrade, this ability has no cooldown and no stamina cost, so you're able to constantly use it to not only start fights, but also go to the opposite end of the fight if need be. If you're not comfortable engaging as a squishy rogue, or you just enjoy taking a slow stroll, then by all means go with something else. I would recommend going with poison weapons instead if that is the case for you. Throwing blades is exactly what it says it is. You throw knives, which is nice because it gives us a ranged ability, but not only that, it also sunders the target and deals very good single target damage. We've already briefly discussed spinning blades. It gives us another valid AoE option and also deals solid damage. However, the real reason we grab these two abilities, besides their great damage, is that in combination with the passive Looked Like It Hurt, these abilities will allow us to stay topped off on stamina a lot more often. Looked Like It Hurt will give us stamina for every critical hit you land, which by the end of the game will be half of your attacks. And because these abilities have so many quick and successive attacks, they'll bring your stamina right back up to nearly full, allowing us to keep up a barrage of bombs and blades. So to bring it all back together, the core gameplay loop will be using hook and tackle to dive into the fight, throw elemental mines into the enemy's face, use spinning blades for the grouped up enemies, and throwing blades for the single target or ranged ones. Weave in some normal attacks where it makes sense, and then rinse and repeat for every single fight. The armor for this build will be a Superior Skirmisher hat and Superior Prowler armor, as those give us the most utility and offensive slots. Always slot in crit chance, crit damage, dexterity, and cunning to those slots. The ring, amulet, and belt will all be acquired from various locations and cannot be crafted. Lastly, we have the weapons, which will be the Stonestalker Blade or the Blade of Red Birth. The Stonestalker Blade is considered better, but cannot be acquired until further in the game, so the Blade of Red Birth, which can be acquired from the Black Emporium, will be the choice for most of the game. As always with my build videos, there will be a link in the description to a full leveling guide. Let me know what you think about the build in the comments down below, and please click the like button if this video was helpful for you. Like I have said, I believe this build is without a doubt the most fun build in the game. I've beaten the game twice with this build, and it's extremely powerful. If you choose this build for your next playthrough, you will not regret it. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.